It's about noon on Wednesday, July 10th, 2024, so we're 1/3 of the way through July. And right now it's like 86 degrees with 60% humidity, quite humid. Thankfully we got some clouds, so it's not too bad. But it was nice and cool here, so I decided to spend some time and take a video with the sheep over by the cows. You can see them down there. Let me zoom in for you. I moved them to that last section in the row on the far west side there. But the cows are all spread out in the row, so they were hanging out under one of the trees. They didn't like that big tree for some reason, so I didn't know what that was about. But I'd like to say that the grazing backwards was a success, but I can't say that because it wasn't. We still need back fencing. So I'm going to try it again. I'm going to move from west to east in the next row. So from where they're at, move it down. And then the next row, we're going to go backwards. And I'm going to put up back fencing and see if we can get better behavior on the cows. Something I've been thinking about, I saw in one area the cows were at, let me put my gloves down so I can kind of wave my hand around. So Greg Judy put a video out today, so that'll be yesterday for you guys, where he talks about trampling the grass into the soil. And he says things like every blade of grass that you give to the soil, you get 2 times as much back, that kind of stuff. And it brought to mind the condition in the poorer parts of my pasture, which isn't here. This is not a poor part of my pasture by any stretch of the imagination. This is actually pretty good. Here, I'll show you kind of what it looks like under this tree, and kind of give you a description of the poor parts. I saw this and I said, am I overgrazing? What am I doing wrong? So you get spots of ground like this where I think the spring grass did pretty well here. But in terms of summer grass, there's just not a lot going on. And so the question that I was asking myself is, what could I have done differently or better? What am I doing wrong is kind of the question, and what I do instead? And my initial thought was maybe I'm grazing too much. Maybe the cows, when they come by and they eat what little grass there is, they're just causing too much damage, and I should just keep the cows off that spot of ground until I get the kind of growth I want to see, right? Maybe the cows are grazing too much. They're coming back for a second bite. I'm coming back too quickly, and that's why the soil isn't growing the grass. Maybe there's just not that organic layer that needs to be on top of the soil to protect it. Greg Judy had a great demonstration of that, but I'll kind of show you what I mean over here. So like take any spot of ground over here, and you kind of have to dig down through dead grass to see the soil, right? So you have that armor that protects the soil, traps the moisture, and provides like a habitat for small insects to do their business. And what I've seen here in my pasture is that sometimes I'll come to a spot of ground where there's that armor, and then I'll come back in a few weeks and it's gone, right? Maybe the wind blew it away. Maybe the animals came and ate it all up and carried it off somewhere else. But most likely what's happening is just it's decomposing rapidly. Because I do recall being here and seeing the Osage oranges green on the ground, and now they're just like this. Look, it's just basically rotted away into dust almost. And so I'm want to say that what's happening is that whatever grass there was in the spring dies off, leaves a little soil armor, and then disappears quickly. It's absorbed into the ground somehow. So what am I doing wrong, right? What could I do better? And so I had a little, I don't know the right way to, but I had a little dream or a thought last night where I saw that bare spot of ground And it really concerned me, and I looked at it and I thought about it. And in the end, the best thing you can do for a bare spot of ground like that is to deposit manure, to get the cows to come by and press with their cloven hooves into the soil to kind of break up that top layer. They have to eat the grass. The grass needs that stimulus, and just let nature run its course. Different parts of my field are different for a reason, and I can't expect everything to be the same all the time. And so that part of my pasture looks like it did in other parts of my pasture 2 years ago. And who knows, maybe the other parts will look like that in 2 years from now as the natural cycle progresses. I don't know what's going to happen. But that's kind of the long and short of it, is there's really not a lot of things you can do to change things. And if you take a too aggressive or too active role and you put nature in the back seat, I don't see much good coming from that. I saw a guy, he does crops of different kinds of stuff. He's a consultant there, and he's talking about what the soil actually needs. And he's talking about elements and chemicals. And he's thinking about it like a chemistry set. Like if we add these two chemicals together, we get a reaction. Well, of course, the reaction he's talking about is biological, but never once did he really stop to say that these, well, he did a couple times, he kind of hinted at it, but these elements, these chemicals, are part of the natural process, a byproduct of some of the natural processes and input to others, right? And so he recommends, like, oh, you get your soil tested, and then, put some things down into the soil. These are more important than that, and nitrogen's not the end all be all that you think it is. Calcium's important, stuff like that. And talking about how the water cycle drives calcium downwards, but there's a biological process to bring it back up, right? So, and that's not what I want to do. That just sounds like taking too much control and just telling nature that she's wrong about everything, or like only trusting her in some things but not other things, So my strategy is just wait and see there. It's only small parts of my ground. I can only help but think that those spots of ground just had the strongest spring grass, and we're at the stage where the spring grass is pretty much decayed away, that the worms have come and eaten them all up. And so now we're kind of at a point where, oh, hello, Rami. Hey, Rami. You just come between my legs and say hello by rubbing on me, huh? But, and that's what I'm going to try to do, is trust nature, not to override or counteract or push against her. But like, if she wants to take a piece of ground a certain direction, I'm going to let her. And I'll do the best that I know how, which is to bring ruminants in from time to time to munch on the grass and poop and pee. But there's really not much else I can do, And furthermore, another thing, a thought that's in the back of my head is too much rest. Like, people talk about your grass getting rank or old, and you want to optimize your grazing by having the animals graze on fresh green grass, And so that kind of flies in the face of what Greg Judy talks about stockpiling, where he's like, you set aside a portion of your field, a large portion of your field, for when there's not enough forage to, feed all the animals. And if you do it right, you might be able to feed them through winter too, right? And so that's something I'm experimenting with this year, quite a bit different than last year and the year before. I haven't quite decided where I'm going to stockpile during summer. I'm thinking the middle of the pasture, between the north and south ends, the middle third. But I also have in the back of my mind what I want to happen, what I want to see would happen if I leave it alone, like I have in the back 20. My neighbor's back 20 there. But and there's some other thoughts I had too. So I wasn't really married to stockpiling a particular part of ground for this season. I more wanted to catch up on the grazing. Hey, Rami. I more wanted to catch up on the grazing and give everything a pass, and then think about what to do for stockpile, right? Because I just don't know where I would put them all, and I don't know what the best thing to do is. I'm right now I'm leaning towards the middle of my pasture, as I said. So those are my thoughts. I don't have any clear-cut answers. I don't trust myself enough to, defer to my insights and wisdom quite yet. And I'm still just kind of seeing what happens, observing what happens when I do different things, and hoping that some of those things have positive benefits. So guys, that's all I got for you today. Have a great day. Take care and bye-bye.